So, LaVar Arrington, we were wondering, God, how's this whole thing with Jonathan Taylor and Jimmy Big Mouth, Jim Irsay, going to shape up for the Indianapolis Colts? And, we're going to go ahead and reach the conclusion here pretty soon, because the Indianapolis Colts have given Jonathan Taylor permission to seek a trade. This, of course, after there had been speculation about them not wanting to trade Jonathan Taylor and all the other stuff that came along with it. Jim Irsay most famously pulled up to a golf cart at training camp and said, I could die tomorrow. Jonathan Taylor could be out of the league. Nobody would care. And so Jonathan Taylor, who was seeking a contract from the Indianapolis Colts, as he's going to make about $4 million in change in the final year of his deal. They've said there's not going to be any contract extension. Apparently, they've finally gotten the hint. Jonathan Taylor doesn't want to be a part of this organization anymore, and so they are working to facilitate
or did Jonathan
a trade.
Taylor get the hint that they didn't want him to be a part of the organization anymore as well? Maybe it was a dual memo.
I think this whole thing got sideways the second Jim Irsay made those comments.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I think Jonathan Taylor, and you guys have talked about just him being a stand-up guy, and he's always had a great reputation going all the way back to college at Wisconsin and being in the Big Ten. And I think that Jonathan Taylor would have been okay coming back and playing, and then we worry about the contract after the year. The second Irsay made the comment he did about Jonathan Taylor could be out of the league and nobody would care, the league moves on, I think he took that personally, and I think that was a wrap. I think this became more of a personal conflict than a financial one for Jonathan Taylor, and I think that's where this whole thing got sideways. Your guy, Jim Irsay, old Jimmy Big Mouth. Got into the liquor cabinet one too many times this offseason, apparently.
Here's where this is what makes this of an interesting topic of conversation, because there are rules to the game, right? There are rules to how you conduct business, and it's interesting because one of the things that is not prominent in terms of high school or college football, I'll say. I won't say every sport, because some sports may be different. I don't want to make a judgment and be ignorant about it, but the players aren't taught business. They're not. Business is not discussed in a way where you're prepared for the emotions or the lack thereof you should have when engaging in business. Like, it's always going to be business over feelings. And so when feelings get involved, feelings can interrupt and can disrupt and can destroy results in business. Now, sometimes it can go the other way. Sometimes feelings can actually yield positive results. It's not always a bad thing. It's just a dangerous thing. And so the interesting dynamic when you talk about you have to remove feelings from business is that football is all about feelings. Right? Like, you're trained to be in the moment. You're trained to, feel your teammates and feel your coaches and feel that energy and feel the hard work and embrace the challenges and work together to a common goal. Like, everything is about teamwork, the ultimate team sport. Work together to get it done. It's a common goal. It's a common bond, one heart, one mind, There's so many things that you are trained and you are taught. You become very dependent on the culture of football because everything is there. You're sick, you come here. You got a toothache, you come here. You got girl problems, you come here. You got whatever it is, you still come to the football facility, and whatever the solution is going to be, that solution is going to resonate from there. So it's almost like the education of a football player is to be totally dependent upon your football team and your football community, and then only to, in some cases, have it stripped away from you and ripped from under you, and it's like a unsuspecting result. When you should be expecting it, or you should be handling things in a business manner. Fans get mad at you when you do business as a player. Fans get mad. People get mad. Oh, they're worried about the wrong things, or this, that, and the other.
Where's your priorities, man?
All these different things that they say about the player, but they never say it about the organization. They never say it about the team. And that has always existed. The players are judged, but the franchise doesn't get judged. It's just business. When it comes down to the franchise, it's just business. But when it's the player should have showed this undying loyalty towards their team, towards the franchise, towards everything that's going on. And so you get upset with them. Now, it might not be that way so much anymore, the way things are, have, I guess, kind of evolved based upon like fantasy football and stuff like that. It's kind of decentralized, and in a lot of ways it's desensitized the fan bases to having really fierce loyalties like days of old. But nonetheless, Jonas, you're talking about guys who have been classically set up for failure. And this is one of those moments where you're seeing it play out. Jim Irsay should have never said that, whether it's true or not, which it is true, what he said. But whether true or not, he has an obligation to be more responsible than that, a better steward, so to speak, over the flock that he has ownership of within his organization. If your employees do not have a collective belief in the value of what you bring to the table as an owner, there should be no secret or surprise as to why business, in terms of if it's the business of winning, isn't taking place in Indianapolis.
It feels like, and you could be the biggest Jim Irsay fan, and I like Jim Irsay, and Jim Irsay's been a part of some good things in this league, and he's good for the NFL, and he says funny stuff and all that, and but he cares about his football team, and nobody can deny that. He definitely cares about his team. I mean, he also cares about Wales, but she gone, so he's got to get focused on the season now. But like, you can be the biggest Irsay fan, you can be a Colts kiss ass all you want. There's a lot of bad, embarrassing moments that have taken place with the organization over the past couple of years. And I feel like it's in large part because of Jim Irsay. And this is one of them. The Jeff Saturday fiasco, that was Irsay's fingerprints all over that. That was his idea. The way Frank Reich was jettisoned, the revolving door at quarterback, and I get it. Andrew Luck retired on the sideline in a preseason game, and Phillip Rivers decided he didn't want to come back. But you could not get rid of Carson Wentz fast enough. And then you brought in Matt Ryan, and you couldn't get rid of Matt Ryan fast enough. And then you couldn't get rid of Frank Reich fast enough. And then you wanted Jeff Saturday to be your guy. And you could go all the way back to Ryan Grigson, who was, some guy that he used to lift weights with, which is why he got the job as a GM back in the day. It feels like there's a lot of spur of the moment. Maybe doesn't really think things through, just kind of shoots his mouth off or makes a decision. And then afterwards,
disconnected.
Yeah, it's like you've got a rookie quarterback who's a raw talent by anybody's estimation. They look at Anthony Richardson and go, hey man, he's got all the tools in the world. It's definitely going to take time. He's not as polished as C.J. Stroud or as Bryce Young or these guys. Wouldn't an all-pro level running back being in the backfield kind of help his development a little bit? I don't know. It seems like that would be a move that you'd want to make sure that was part of your organization and a position that was part of your organization to get your rookie quarterback ready to go. And Irsay's just like, nah, whatever. I mean, I could die tomorrow, and Jonathan Taylor could be out of the league, and the league moves on. But by the way, please donate to my charity because we got Shamu who can't breathe out of one testicle, and we're trying to save his life. Like whatever. Like the whole thing's just weird, and you got the Colts.
It's the manner in which it's approached. is what makes it. Nobody's going to have an issue with you doing what's best for your team. But you can have a manner and an approach that shows that you care, that you matter. And that to me is what breeds a culture and an environment that is able to find that balance within the business, because the business is there. And then as you start to learn about business and understand it as an adult that you're thrusted into after all these years of doing it, and the business was always there, high schools generate money off of their football programs. They do. And it's a business. It's interesting because that money has to literally go back into the program for you to be able to have the sport in order for it to kind of survive. So it's a different set of circumstances surrounding the business, but nonetheless still a business. Money is being generated. There's commerce involved. Then it goes into big business, big business at the next level if you go to college. And then it goes into big business if you make it to the pros. And you're ill prepared for the business of it. And so when someone makes the business front and center like Irsay did, and they do it in a total you're
reckless.
Unimportant. Like, it's just disregard, total disregard to the player as a person. That calls into a lot of ways, whether he knew it or not, or whether he meant it that way or not. It calls your value into question.
Yeah.
And you never want he's talking about it in terms of it being a player, right? Like, he didn't say as a person no one would care, but as a player, you take it as a person no one cares, right? So you just devalued me as a man.
Don't you think other guys other players heard that? And
yes.
Like, what?
That's why I'm telling you, all of these little things that you hear, all of these things that these players experience and that they go through, you're actually creating a culture. And that culture says that if he can do it to Jonathan Taylor, who is one of our best players, a franchise guy, he could do it to any of us. And so now that harsh reality of the disregard that he showed towards Jonathan Taylor in the moment of when he wanted a contract and he wanted to exercise seeing what his value was, this is how you're going to handle it, then you're going to handle it like that with me. And so now you detach from having any type of real personal ownership over the organization. You're not going to do anything more than what you would do unless you're doing it for yourself, unless you're doing it for your teammates. So to me, there's a lot to it, and it's unfortunate, but it's, guys are ill prepared to be pros and handle business, and then things like this happen, and then you see fallouts take place. I thought Jim Irsay missed on this one, and he's going to have to do some cleaning up to make sure that he preserves what it is that he has in his locker room, or to help create a better environment for winning in that locker room, because they clearly have not been successful in the winning at Indianapolis.